Mr. Crawford, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, as you know, China is forecast to hold over 60 million bales of cotton in reserves in 2016, 6 times the level they held before implementing their reserve program 5 years ago. Despite their reckless actions, India's own minimum support price has now resulted in India overtaking China as the world's largest cotton producer. And if that weren't bad enough, Turkey has seemingly concluded their purely retaliatory anti-dumping case against the U.S. that clearly violates WTO procedure. All of this leading to the lowest cotton plantings in the United States in 108 years, with the exception of 1 year in the 80s. And if that wasn't bad enough, add insult to injury, China is now dealing with their huge stockpile by shrinking their imports from 24.5 million bales in 2011 to an estimated 5 million bales in 2016. It's an 80% drop. Yet in February, on February 11th, an appearance before the Appropriations Committee, you said you were refusing to help cotton growers because you don't want to, quote, create difficulties for the industry relative to trade. I find that statement to be outrageous. Do you share our concerns that your refusal to act threatens U.S. cotton production and the very trade you say you're trying to protect?
Congressman, that refers to the fact that Brazil brought a WTO case against us based on our cotton program as it existed before. They are very, very skeptical of anything we do in this space, so you have to be careful that you don't encourage Brazil to yet provide another case. Their case which they won exposed us to potentially $800 to $900 million of retaliation against crops throughout the entire agricultural sector. So, yes, I am concerned about that, and I should be. That's part of my job.
In your view,
that's not to suggest that I'm not sympathetic with you in terms of your concerns about China. They're legitimate.
Do you think China and India's actions with respect to cotton violate their commitments in the WTO? And if so, what's USDA and USTR doing about it?
Well, I think that the Trade Representative's Office is very acutely aware of this. It has expressed concerns to both India and China. And I think the fact that they are already bringing cases in a number of areas indicates a willingness to take these folks on. There is a limitation in terms of the number of cases that they can handle from a staffing perspective, and we're certainly going to continue to encourage them to put pressure, and we'll continue to put pressure on China. They are very difficult to deal with in a lot of areas, not just cotton.
Understood. Perhaps your department could use further counsel on trade issues, given your comments to the appropriators. In fact, the lack of a top trade advisor in the department was contemplated by this committee in the Farm Bill. That's why we authorized your department the appointment of an Undersecretary of Trade. Why haven't you appointed one yet?
Congress has requested on 2 separate occasions that we study the issue, which we're in the process of following the congressional mandate direction.
Okay, let me switch gears. My colleague, Mr. Goodlatte, referenced the Duns and Sam issue, and I appreciate your response to that. I would like to go a little further and say that the loss of payments on those contracts has created a huge cash flow problem for many of the farmers across the country, and some of them are in trouble with their lenders. Can we get your assurances today in writing so that they can provide the affected farmers and their lenders with some peace of mind on that issue?
Congressman, over $24 million has been funneled through this waiver process, and that's the process that we are using to make sure that we are doing this properly.
I understand that, but in the interim, you have lenders that are they're having to carry their farmers. We have farmers that are trying to make payments and they're $80,000 short because they haven't been paid. Is there something, even a piece of paper, that you could provide those farmers that they could go to their bankers and say, we're good?
Congressman, if you give me the names of those farmers, I'll be happy to take a look and make sure that whatever we're doing does not jeopardize a situation for an unreasonable.
I'd be happy to give you the names of those farmers, and a written response to you I'm sure would allay their concerns. With that, I yield back.